Steven Spielberg. Just saying those two words invoke images that have been embedded in your brains long after you have viewed one of his many films, spanning 5 decades. He's won an astonishing total of 126 awards, including 3 Oscars, 7 Golden Globes, and 11 Emmys. In 1995, he received the prestigious Life Achievement Award from the American Film Institute. Of the many films he's made, 5 have been regarded as one of the 100 greatest American films picked by the AFI, and 7 of the highest-grossing films in motion picture history were directed by this influential filmmaker who has made me the person I am today, a film fanatic. But what are some of my favorite movies made by Steven Spielberg? Well, I'm going to tell you 12 of my favorite films made by this amazing filmmaker. This is my top 12 favorite Steven Spielberg movies. Ready when you are, Steven.
And action!
Number 12. The Adventures of Tintin. Based on the European comic strip character created by Hergé about a globe-trotting reporter solving mysteries alongside his pet dog Snowy and the drunk Captain Haddock. This was Steven Spielberg's first animated film.
Never fear, Tintin. The evidence is safe with us. Thompson, where are you?
Well, I'm already downstairs. Do try to keep up.
Spielberg got introduced to this character when he read a French film critic comparing Indiana Jones to this character called Tintin. It took many years of development, and only when the technology began to catch up did Hergé's creation come to life. The film was also produced by Peter Jackson, so you have the creative geniuses of Steven Spielberg and Peter Jackson. The performance capture was very beautifully done. Unlike films such as The Polar Express, this film is able to exaggerate human features to make it resemble the comic book character designs. It's like a living comic book come to life, and for his efforts, Spielberg was awarded with a Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature.
Excellent.
Number 11. Catch Me If You Can. Inspired by a true story, the film is about a young man, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who poses as a pilot, a doctor, and a lawyer. But at the same time, a relentless FBI agent, played by Tom Hanks, wants to bring him to justice because he cashed about $4 million in fraudulent checks in many countries. So it basically becomes a cat-and-mouse game. The vibrant colors that represent the time period of the 1960s is just astonishing, and the sets are just magnificent. In addition to DiCaprio and Hanks, the film also includes Christopher Walken and Jennifer Garner. Nothing more to say except it's a light-hearted comedy sprinkled with dramatic realities. Number 10. Lincoln. Based on Doris Kearns Goodwin's book Team of Rivals, Lincoln illustrates the last months of the 16th President of the United States. His goal is to make a constitutional amendment to abolish slavery and end the Civil War, despite all the opposition.
We're stepped out upon the world stage now, with the fate of human dignity in our hands. Blood's been spilled to afford us this moment now! Now!
What makes this movie work? 3 words. Well, 3 words and a hyphen. Daniel Day-Lewis. The gist here is, you've got the greatest director in the world with the greatest actor in the world making a movie about the greatest American president that ever existed. How could you go wrong with that? Day-Lewis did not just play Lincoln, he became Lincoln. And as a result, he won his 3rd Academy Award for Best Actor. making him the first actor to ever win 3 Best Actor Oscars, and making him the first actor to win an Oscar for a movie directed by Steven Spielberg. Daniel, I salute you. Number 9. Munich. Based on George Jonas's book Vengeance, it tells the story of Israel's response to the 1972 Munich Olympics, when 11 of the Israeli team were taken hostage and ultimately gunned down by the Palestinian terrorist gang Black September.
There were 11 hostages. 2 were killed in their rooms yesterday morning. 9 were killed at the airport tonight. They're all gone.
This is considered Spielberg's most controversial film ever made. The book the film was based on was attacked by former agents of the Mossad and even one of the Black September terrorists. But what Steven was trying to do with this film was to stir up a discussion of something that had never been talked about for many, many years. I didn't know anything about the Munich massacre until I saw this movie. It was something that wasn't mentioned in any of the history books I've read, and was never really discussed a great deal. But still, Munich is a compelling drama worth viewing and discussing. Number 8. Minority Report. Based on the Philip K. Dick short story. It's about a futuristic law enforcement team, led by Tom Cruise, who, based on foreknowledge by 3 psychics, arrest criminals before their crime is committed. But when their team leader discovers that in 36 hours he will kill someone, his own team starts chasing after him. I found this to be quite an interesting story because it examines the concept of whether or not free will can exist in our future, and can we really determine if our future is really set in stone. This film was released a year after September 11th, at a time when the government was contemplating about civil liberties we would have to forego in order to prevent us from further attacks from terrorism. It's quite an interesting but frightening concept at the same time. Plus, who doesn't like a good old Spielberg sci-fi movie?
Don't run. You don't have to chase me.
Number 7. Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Steven Spielberg's first sci-fi movie, Close Encounters is about a blue-collar everyman, played by Richard Dreyfuss, whose life changes forever due to a close encounter with an unidentified flying object.
What the hell is going on around here? Who the hell are you people?
For this film, Spielberg combined the idea of UFOs and the idea that the government would cover it up like Watergate, which is essentially what the government would do in a case like this. This film was written around the time when UFO sightings were headline news, and Spielberg made this film as fantastic and yet as credible as possible to show the cinema-going public what would happen if aliens did land on this planet. The film also came out around the same year as Star Wars, and both films were tremendous successes. And this film saved Columbia Pictures from bankruptcy. It's a film that teaches us we are not alone in the universe. Number 6. Jurassic Park. Based on the Michael Crichton novel, it tells the story of a theme park off the coast of Costa Rica, inhabited by genetically cloned dinosaurs. This film made dinosaurs cool again. Using state-of-the-art computer technology and animatronics, the dinosaurs in this movie look so realistic that they might as well could have been real. Released in 1993, Jurassic Park became the highest-grossing movie of Steven Spielberg's career, and it spawned a franchise consisted of 2 sequels and 1 currently being made. Nothing more to say except, if you love dinosaurs, then you'll love this movie. Number 5. E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial. This is clearly one of Steven Spielberg's greatest films, and for good reason. How could somebody love an alien that doesn't look cute in the slightest? Well, Spielberg somehow managed to pull it off so well that it became one of the most talked about films of the 1980s. The film is about an alien marooned on Earth, and he befriends a young boy. This is not only one of Steven Spielberg's greatest movies ever made, but it features the best score by Spielberg's longtime composer, John Williams. The score is so uplifting that you as an audience member feel like flying along with this strange-looking alien. It's a heartwarming film and strongly recommended. Number 4. Jaws. Based on Peter Benchley's book, it tells the story of a small New England town terrorized by a 25-foot great white shark. Jaws is considered to be one of the scariest horror movies ever made, and it's made more people afraid to go swimming. But it was also remembered for its troubled production due to an uncooperative mechanical shark. So let down by his star, Spielberg was able to give the suggestion of the shark, and a lot of that credit goes to John Williams, who used just 2 notes on a keyboard. It's become most imitated and lampooned in many other art forms. Jaws is also responsible for creating the summer blockbusters, which continues to this day. But that's not the reason why I like this film. I like it because it's great fun. The best is when you see it with an audience.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Number 3. Indiana Jones. Which one? All of them. Co-created by George Lucas and starring Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones is one of the most exciting film characters to ever come to the screen. Each of the films represent a period of the Saturday matinee serials, while the 4th movie resembles the 1950s B-movies. Even the weakest movies in the series always have some creative and interesting set pieces. The best way to describe this series is an American James Bond. I think my favorite of the series has to be Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark because it was my late grandfather's favorite film. Plus, the characters and exotic locations make it the most visually stunning film series. This film is the main reason why so many people wanted to pursue the science of archaeology. With 3 sequels and no means of ending, Indiana Jones is a film series you don't want to miss.
Trust me.
Number 2. Saving Private Ryan. Winning his 2nd Best Director Oscar for this World War II epic, Steven Spielberg managed to put his audience in the perspective of real combat soldiers during the last Great War. The story is about a squad of soldiers led by Tom Hanks who were sent on a mission to find a soldier after 3 of his brothers were killed in combat. The film tackles the theme of decency and what is the most decent thing to do when surrounded by the horrors of war. What the film is best known for is creating the most realistic depictions of combat. The first 20 minutes of the film features some of the most graphic and bloody images ever put in a film. With great story and set pieces, Saving Private Ryan is a heart-pounding drama that is so honest and truthful to the veterans who sacrificed their lives. It's a film my late grandfather would be the most pleased with. And my number 1 favorite Steven Spielberg movie is Schindler's List. Why? Because it's the film that brought new awareness to a dark chapter in history that many of us would want to forget but can't, no matter how hard we try. The film, based on Thomas Keneally's book, tells the story of a German factory owner, played by Liam Neeson, saving the lives of his entire Polish Jewish workforce from Hitler's Nazi thugs. This film is a far difficult movie to discuss, let alone explain, because the subject matter is so controversial that I don't think I could do it justice. The film is shot mostly in black and white to invoke the feeling of a documentary filmmaker in that time period, witnessing the horrible crimes against humanity. The film not only was a success and won 7 out of 12 Academy Awards, including Best Picture and Best Director, it also led to the creation of the Survivors of the Showa Visual History Foundation, a non-profit organization which holds more than 52,000 videotaped testimonies of Holocaust survivors. This was considered to be Spielberg's cinematic bar mitzvah, which I think is the best way to describe this film. This film I strongly recommend everyone to see. Schindler's List, my #1 favorite Steven Spielberg movie.